All right, if we are live, and I believe we are, so welcome everybody to episode 6 of our All Pro Sports podcast here tonight. Obviously, I had Mac Baltez last week. Hopefully, I'm gonna get two broadcasts in this week. Tonight, it's just gonna be Billy McGee and myself here tonight, and obviously, a lot of big changes going right now in the NFL with coaching hirings and firings, but of course the big news, of course, is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs against the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl. And of course, I mentioned about the AFC and NFC championship games last week with Mac, but I was interested in kind of getting your thoughts, Billy, on the AFC and NFC championships and your pick for the Super Bowl.
Uh, the NFC Championship was a very disappointing game.
Hmm.
I thought the Eagles would win either way, but not having a quarterback to throw the ball for the Niners made that game unbearable to watch.
Right.
It was like not even close. And
Yeah.
then the Chiefs Bengals game was great though. I
Mhm.
think that people are like overblowing it a little bit with like the refs because like there's bad calls in every game and all
Mhm.
that. And they missed calls on both sides, but it did affect the Bengals more because it was later in the game.
Right.
But it's whatever for that. That's in
Mhm.
the past, and now we're on to the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
I don't know who I think is gonna win.
Mhm.
If the Eagles can play like they played against the Niners, they'll easily win. But then again, they played against a quarterback who wasn't physically capable of throwing a football, and
Right.
now they're playing against the best quarterback in the world.
Mhm.
So I don't really know a prediction. If I had, I think it'll probably be close and it'll probably have a decent amount of scoring in there.
Mhm.
But I'd want to just lean Chiefs in a really close one.
Mhm. I'm kind of the same way too. I kind of would see this kind of being a high scoring game. I could see maybe both teams putting up 30 points in this game. But, certainly, I just kind of mentioned this with Mac last week. I mean, Kansas City, I just have not really been impressed with their defense, other than obviously their defensive line with Clark, as well as their draft pick from George Karlaftis from Purdue. I mean, just really their linebacker and their secondary core is just so thin right now. So I mean, if it's going to be a high scoring game, I mean, Patrick Mahomes has to go toe to toe with Jalen Hurts and that Philadelphia Eagles offense if Kansas City has a chance to win it.
Yeah, it's that defense, or specifically that secondary is going to need to step up, especially when you have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith
Hmm.
that are like as those are two great receivers, and you have like a not great secondary, which they didn't play terrible against the
No.
Bengals, which I'd say the Bengals probably have a better passing attack because Jamar Chase and T Higgins is probably the best receiver duo in the league.
Hmm.
And if you can somewhat hold your own against that, I know the scheme plays a factor, but if you can somewhat hold your own against those two, you should be able to not just get torched by AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. But who knows? Schemes are different. The running threat is a lot more with Jalen Hurts than it was with Joe Burrow. So
We'll certainly see if Steve Spagnuolo has any tricks up his sleeve for the Philadelphia Eagles offense, but we'll have to wait and see about that in a couple of days from now. But certainly, big news, though, as I mentioned earlier, about some of the recent hirings and firings across the league. Of course, last week I had mentioned, of course, Denver hiring Sean Payton as their head coach and their former head coach, Nathaniel Hackett, going to the New York Jets to serve as their offensive coordinator. Of course, D'Amico Ryan's taking the head coaching job at the Houston Texans with a 6-year deal for him. And then I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, I heard Steve Wilkes, I think, was hired as a defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. But I kind of just wanted to bounce this off of you, just kind of getting your take on some of those hirings and firings and your thoughts about their decisions.
so the only one that I'm like sort of skeptical of the ones that like have happened in the past like week or so is
Mhm.
probably Hackett. to the
Mhm.
Jets because that
Mhm.
offense looked terrible.
It did.
And I don't know what your thought process is there. I know you're probably going to try and go get a veteran quarterback in for the Jets, but like, who do you get? It's your options are probably Jimmy Garoppolo or Derek Carr,
Yeah.
and like, I don't know that Hackett is exactly the guy that you want to like take your offense to the next level with one of those quarterbacks.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
all the other hirings I think are pretty solid.
Mhm. I agree. I just certainly think, I mean, obviously, if people are saying of it being true that either Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers, certainly I have no idea how this whole quarterback carousel is going to be playing out right now. But certainly, huge decisions to be made in terms of the AFC as well as just kind of a whole new look in terms of the NFC as well. That'll be a different conversation, probably close to the NFL draft, but. Um, Certainly, I also kind of mentioned about with, Houston hiring D'Amico Ryans, with his 6-year deal. I kind of mentioned this last week. I just hope Casario and the McNairs just kind of really just stand by D'Amico Ryans this year, knowing that he was a former player, obviously, with them, but also, I mean, just, you just got to have a, you know, solid plan in place right now. And, if they're going to go for Bryce Young, obviously, he's got a nice little um, offense behind him because, I just kind of mentioned the Mack. I did not think that Damian Pierce, who they selected from Florida last year, was going to be big, but, he surprised me. I know they didn't have John Mechie the third last year because he was battling leukemia, and then of course you also have Stingley and Petre from their rookie class still in their secondary unit. But my advice to McNairs and Casario, just give him some time and just stay out of the way with D'Amico and give him a few years to build a quality team there.
Yeah, that defense should be significantly better next year because I don't know what they were doing with their defense this year. When Stingley did play, they had him playing like basically like I don't know what they ran like a was it a cover two
It was
that
cover two.
scheme they
Yeah,
ran? He was
mhm,
just playing pretty much in the flats.
he
When
was.
he's like, you have
Mhm,
a guy like that of that talent, let him man up on somebody, like play him to his strength, which is like that's what the Niners do good on defense, and that's what D'Amico Ryans is going to bring there. So I think
mhm,
Stingley is going to be very good next year, and
agreed.
then
And
he'll get the most out of all the other players on that defense too.
mhm. Hoping so. And so, um, kind of just still, kind of getting into the NFL conversation here. I wasn't sure if you had gotten my email that I had sent you. Did you were you able to kind of piece together your top five Super Bowl list or
I was kind of struggling to because like I wanted to just keep it to ones that like I watched and I remember, and that's not like that long of a list because of like some of the Super Bowls in recent memory have not been good like
at
at
this
all.
house?
Like
Right.
the
Yeah.
the Patriots Rams is not even in consideration. Like that doesn't even deserve to be there. Nor does the Broncos Seahawks. Like, but I could probably name you the top five, not in any order. Like
Yes.
what was why am I blanking on the obvious which year was it? I'm trying to remember. The Eagles last Eagles one against the Patriots.
Oh,
What which
52.
one was that?
Super Bowl
52.
50.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Hmm.
51 and 52 both
Hmm.
are up there. Like you can't have a top 5 list without the best comeback in playoff history. It
Hmm.
coming back down
Hmm.
25 in late third quarter to win a Super Bowl in
Hmm.
51. So there those two are up there. Then of course you got can't remember which one it would I get lost on the numbers for which one it is. The Seahawks Patriots.
That was Super Bowl 49. No, Super Bowl
Oh yeah, that
49.
was right before 50. Yeah, so
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
that those were those like really all of the Super Bowls the Patriots played in,
Right.
like
Mhm.
in the mid 2010s, in like late 2010s, except for the one against the Rams, were like great games.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then I'm trying to. think back of any other like
Certainly, I
really
had
memorable
I was
ones.
mentioning this to Mac. I mean, I was only 8 years old when, another Patriots Super Bowl happened when the Carolina Panthers and the Patriots played in, Super Bowl 38, I think it was, but, I mean, just, I remember watching that one, and I just was amazed at the talent on both sides of the football. That was probably one of the more better Super Bowls, determining just like,
Yeah.
just how underrated the Panthers were, and the Patriots certainly weren't as high powered of a team, even though they had a really good defensive team that year, but just they didn't have the offensive firepower that they had in Brady's final few years.
Yeah, I was 2 when or yeah, I was 2 when that game happened, so that doesn't even cross my mind to think of ones like that. Of course, you got to mention both Giants ones over the Patriots. I didn't watch the first one because I
Mhm.
was like significantly younger than I
Makes
was way before I started watching football. I did watch
Mhm,
the second one though, which was also a good game. So
mhm,
that's probably up there.
mhm.
And then I'm trying to think of the ones I watched. Which ones were? I mean, of course, you gotta include the blackout game.
Blackout, yeah, both
Yeah,
Harbaugh brothers, yeah.
yeah.
Mhm,
Because what
mhm.
that game was looking like a blowout
Ooh, yeah.
before the blackout, and then they surged back, and it was a really close one, a really great game after that.
Mhm. I was pulling so hard when, Kaepernick made that second half comeback, and, of course, obviously, the last throw into the end zone, I know, who I think it was Jim, not I always get those guys confused, but I think Jim Harbaugh was just bellowing at the officials, and I was screaming at them as well because I thought that was a hold or whatever, but um, Baltimore ended up pulling out for the victory, and that was Ray Lewis's last game in the NFL. It's kind of funny how that was Ray Lewis's last game, and I think Michael Strahan's last game was Super Bowl 42 for the Giants as well. Kind of just seeing, how you know sometimes the Super Bowl could be either the end of an era for your team or just the beginning for um, a new team to take the torch from a team that called itself a dynasty.
Yeah, like with the the Patriots really handed it over like quick from ending their dynasty because really what they beat the Rams and then the next year it was just they were first round exit and then downhill. So
Yeah,
they basically handed their torch from dynasty from them to the Chiefs
yeah.
for the AFC at least.
Mhm.
Because what the Chiefs, this is their third Super Bowl they've
What,
made with
5 years, yeah.
yeah, this is their third in 5 years, and the other two were conference championship losses. So
Mhm,
they're very clearly looking like the dominant force in the AFC going forward. And then you can't ignore the Bengals in there too, even though they didn't win the Super Bowl last year. They did make it, and they did go back to the conference championship this year. But so there's a fun battle there to potential future dynasties with how well they're performing.
mhm. I'm certainly hoping as well, Buffalo can get themselves into that conversation as well. I mean, it's just going to be picking orders for those three divisions, and certainly seeing, how the other teams in those divisions fare. And, of course, that'll be a conversation for another point. And then probably just like the last point of order as well, I kind of had a little fun with Mac on this last week with the um I didn't know if you had any time or any thing with the Super Bowl trivia. If you had any questions for me, or if you didn't have time,
I didn't come up with any off the
oh, you did.
like. I could probably think of some off the top of my head, but
Sure.
it'd probably be a little bit of silence while I was thinking. So if you want
That's fine.
to, we can come back to that. I can try and think
Yeah,
of some like in the middle of
we'll
it.
come back.
Yeah.
But I did want to throw this one unique question to you. I mean, I'm just going to give you three guesses on this. It's not a Super Bowl or NFL trivia, but this was really cool when I noticed, obviously, with the Georgia Bulldogs with their back-to-back national championships as they did in the last 2 years. They posted, I think, I don't know if it was on The Athletic or what it was. I'm not sure, but I think they said it was like the last team to claim three national championships, not win three national championships, but like claim it. And I was kind of interested to see if you knew what the team was. I'll kind of just like shrink it down for you, it's a team that's in the Midwest to kind of just narrow the number
To
of teams
claim 3 in a row?
to claim 3 in a row. Yeah. Mhm.
Is there a time frame here? I know this is
Yeah,
pre, like,
this was way back in the 1930s.
wait,
So
30s, okay.
yeah, so yeah,
Ooh, I don't even
it's in the Midwest though. Think of Midwest teams. Think of them.
see, since you're asking me, I'm feeling like it's not one of the obvious teams you'd probably think of. I
No,
wanna say I don't think they won multiple. I think Minnesota won some back then. I
you
don't
were
know if they
right.
claimed 3 in a row. It's Minnesota?
University of Minnesota Golden
Yep.
Gophers,
I
19,
knew
19
I knew they had won some back then. I didn't know how many, but
yeah, 19 it was 1934, 1935, and then the first year of the AP poll in 1936. When I noticed that, I was like, "Holy cow, you gotta be kidding me." And you know what I mean? That'll be what Georgia's gonna be going at
that's what they're
for
aiming for, yeah, with a
next
new
year.
quarterback too.
I know, exactly. And it just kind of made me diverting there as well. Did you get a chance to see that quarterback list I posted? Or
Yes,
yeah,
I
what
actually have pulled up.
I was gonna yeah, I was
So,
gonna get your
I
thoughts on that.
personally am not a fan of Will Levis at all. Like,
I'm
I
not
do not like Will Levis, and you had him at 4 there, which
mm-mm,
I think that's probably the right spot for him, but I do think that, like, I know you put I think you based yours off of, like, pro readiness, right?
right. Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, just all around, like, draft-wise, I think Anthony Richardson is just a much better prospect just
Mhm.
based on the potential there. He has
Yeah.
all the tools that Will Levis has and more there,
Mm,
and, like, I would put I think Richardson is more pro ready than, I think you put Duggan above him on there for pro readiness. I'd put Richardson above,
okay.
Duggan for that.
Cool. That's fine. Yeah.
But in
That
terms of
makes
pro readiness, I think you probably got the top 5 right. They
mm,
probably wouldn't contribute immediately, a lot of them will, like, who
right.
knows what Hendon Hooker is gonna be able to do with that torn
Mm,
ACL with
right.
whenever he's gonna come back, but he should be someone who maybe could contribute. Maybe I don't know where he'd be projected to go, especially with coming off a knee injury and him being 25,
Mhm.
but he could maybe start a couple games his rookie year. I think Stetson Bennett at 5 is probably a good spot for readiness. He probably doesn't have the ceiling that other guys have, but he could come in and just give you a solid baseline of I've like said that I think I've mentioned before to probably I don't think I've ever said it on here, but a bunch of my friends, I think that Stetson Bennett could carve out like a Tyrod Taylor career,
I agree. I
which
agree.
that's a really solid career, and he's a slightly below average starter, which and probably the best backup or one of the best backups in the league. And if he can
Right.
carve that out for himself, that's a great career.
I agree.
It
I
took
see.
it took Taylor a while to get to the point like that because I know he backed up Flacco for a while before he went over to Buffalo and earned the starting job. But I think Stetson could probably get to the point where he is a low end starter before Taylor did in his career. But then
Mhm.
again, Taylor also wasn't 25 when he entered the league.
Mhm. I kind of mentioned this when I was with Mack last week, kind of like one of those quarterbacks that was underneath. Because when I think Anthony Richardson and Tanner McKee from Stanford, I had put them at number 7. I was saying to him, just kind of seeing how great that Brock Purdy did as Mr. Irrelevant last year. I was kind of trying to see like which quarterback in that list who I could see as possibly a Mr. Irrelevant kind of guy with his magic. I said to him last week, my choice would have been that Jake Hayner from
Yeah,
Fresno
I think that'd
State.
probably be my pick.
Yeah, I
Because
saw him.
if you look at the guys that aren't projected to go higher, or if you're like projected that you'd maybe take as like a seventh, like in the 7th round, just like, hey, why not take him just to have the chance on him?
Mhm.
I'm not really big on anyone else. I don't really
No.
think anyone else is that great there. I think Hayner maybe could do something. Maybe Dorian Thompson Robinson with his athleticism could provide you
Yeah.
something. But
Mhm.
it's way more about who drafts you there than it is about how good you are. Because like going to the Niners really helped Brock Purdy. If he
Yeah.
was anywhere else as the last pick in the draft,
Yeah,
he probably
it's in
wouldn't have
that
played,
spot.
and if he did, he wouldn't have been near as good as he
Mhm.
was when he played.
Yeah, I was a little surprised when I made that list as well, kinda just right before we move on to our next subject. I was surprised at how low or just, like, how people kind of really forgot how good of a year or career that Sean Clifford had. I was surprised that he just was dropped so low in the rankings, and I mean, obviously, I mean, I could see him as a mid-round quarterback, but, I was kinda surprised that, a lot of people are ranking him really, really low in the quarterback prospect rankings.
Yeah, I think he's really just more of an afterthought in terms of, like, drafting quarterbacks and as a prospect, so
Yeah.
it's like, there's not much upside at all really there. He's just sort of someone that's gonna be on your roster because you need another quarterback.
I think that will probably wrap it up for our college um football thing here. I was trying to think, I kind of just like made that um list so fast when I sent that to you, but I was just trying to think, I know that we um last time or like one of the last times we met, we were just kind of looking at some of the um college basketball um standings, and obviously, just going to be a couple of um weeks away from when March Madness officially begins, but it's kind of probably updating that list right now. Certainly, as Mac and I were talking about last week, it's gonna be so weird, it seems, in the ACC right now, just knowing how lackluster that North Carolina and Duke, certainly looked for that year. Just trying to see. Um, I think Billy might have just left for a brief second here. Probably be back. Um, I'm kind of looking at some of the bigger ones here. Obviously Clemson and kind of just got Clemson, Pittsburgh, Virginia, Miami, NC State, the ACC. Try and see what. Hopefully, it might be back. Just trying to pull up what we were discussing here.
Okay, sorry about that. My Wi-Fi messed up there for a second.
Oh, oh, it's okay. It's okay. I was gonna say, what were your um thoughts about LeBron breaking Kareem and Abdul-Jabbar's
The point record?
yeah, his point record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool to see that just because that's like that's probably never going to be broken again. People
No.
thought that Kareem's record was unbreakable. LeBron's record is unbreakable now because he is still one of the best players in the world at 38 years old. So
Mhm.
he is easily going to push that record above 40,000 points.
Mhm.
And someone to break that record, again, if someone wanted to break LeBron's record, they're going to have to enter the league at 18
Mm.
and for over 20 years consistently average close to 30 points per game.
Mm.
That's just never going to happen again.
No. I mean, just I mean, everyone just talks about how just he's been able to just keep his body healthy for so many years, and certainly, I
Yeah,
mean, just
no like major time missed for injuries.
no. Mm-mm. I mean, he's been you know really just an Iron Man for most of his career. But just kind of possibly just sticking with the NBA for a second. I kind of was seeing some of the recent trends, and of course, some of the news of everyone's reactions around that whole Mavericks trade for Kyrie Irving. I just didn't like it. Period. I just
Yeah, I don't think
like
that's
I
a good fit.
like I said last year, when just he just kind of had that whole um business and situation happen with him. I mean, just partially it's because he's just, you don't know if you're going to get the commitment from him on the court. And certainly I just don't know how he and Luka Doncic are going to pair up with Dallas right now, because as far as the West is concerned, I mean, outside of those two teams in Denver and Memphis. I think Sacramento was kind of trying to make a bit of a run, but everybody else is just kind of like in the middle of the pecking order, like between like the 4 and 8 seeds in that conference between them. But I just don't see that working well with them. Yeah, but just kind of, I was just kind of looking really quick at some of the um, college basketball standings quick. Probably just kind of seeing like either like the top teams here. Obviously, the Houston Cougars still doing well in the American Athletic at 22-2, and just kind of what I was mentioning to Mac last week when we were talking. We said about like the ACC. It's going to be so weird, probably in this March Madness, where you can obviously see possibly Duke and Carolina, possibly just either being first round exits or not. I mean, certainly it's been a struggle for John Shire, and can't remember who replaced Williams last
Hubert Davis.
Hubert Davis, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just it's gonna be weird for seeing, just knowing that those 2 teams, struggling this year, and, certainly other teams like Clemson and everybody else, just kinda, um, being, just easy ways out. But
Yeah. Like with UNC, it's like they were the number one team in the
yeah.
nation, like
Mhm,
really early in the year. And now they're unranked and they obviously lost the game to Duke and then had a very embarrassing first half against Wake Forest
mhm,
before making it somewhat close but still losing in the second half. Well, I think that was yesterday. So that
mhm,
they have been terrible for what the expectations were. And then Duke has been really underwhelming as well. It's like
mhm.
the ACC is really weird this year because those are the
Yeah,
two teams you always expect to be up there, and
mhm.
they're not.
No. Mm-mm. It's certainly, just probably just, pick for your upsets. I was gonna say my cousin Ryan, I think, posted that saying Kyrie had better chances of winning in
Oh
Brooklyn
yeah,
than he does in Dallas. I think that's an obvious thing there.
yeah.
And, probably just
You can ignore everything to do with like off the court stuff. It's just not a good fit to put him and Luca on the same team. That
no.
defense was the Mavs defense was already like a bottom 10 defense in the league, I believe. It just
Yeah,
got worse.
right. Yeah.
Like
Of
it's so
course,
much worse now. There's only one ball. They're both extremely ball dominant players. It's like it's not a good fit. I don't see why they went and got him for that.
it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but kind of just like probably sticking with this before I was gonna check the rest some of the other teams as well. And when I had this floating through my mind, but I kind of wanted to ask you this about this. Do you think with them getting rid of Kyrie Irving, Brooklyn themselves, do they have they probably I wouldn't say like destroyed the notion of just teams like kind of getting superstars to be super teams, but they said like because Durant basically he's gotten almost everything he asked for Brooklyn when he got Kyrie, he got Harden, Steve Nash was fired, and of course Sean Marks and him. But just like the Brooklyn Nets, that super team is that probably the most disappointing super team we've seen probably in the NBA in your lifetime. Would you say?
Oh, easily because they also traded for James Harden in there, and that was a massive disappointment. Like it, the Nets are just proof that you can't just go buy the super team. You have to draft the infrastructure of your team and have the good coaching staff, and then you can go out there and add to it through a trade or something. You can't just go in 2 seasons go from having your like underdog team that's led by D'Angelo Russell to having Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving on your team and expect that to dominate the league whenever you also fired your coach that led you with D'Angelo Russell and that underdog team that was very fun to watch because no one expected them to be as good as they were.
Certainly, just it's not going to be pretty for trying to figure out how Brooklyn's going to figure out how they're going to do with Durant and everybody else. But certainly, I just think as far as my Knicks are concerned, I'm kind of pleased that they're at 30-26. But I was just kind of glad they just dropped out of the Durant sweepstakes and everything when that happened there 3 or 4 years ago. Just once they pulled out of there, I just said you just got to try and just build young there. Don't go after the superstars and see what you can probably do. And I'm just kind of glad they just stayed out of that.
Yeah. Hey, and with Kyrie getting traded from the Nets, I don't know if you've been keeping track. Have you seen what Cam Thomas has done since
Yeah,
then?
yeah.
He has scored only 40-point games. He's scored above 40 points every single game so far since they traded Kyrie.
He was a good player for them. I remember kind of we were joking, kind of off air on our last podcast. It was like one of Stephen A's famous Knicks rants after I think they blew like a 28-point lead last year, and Cam Thomas was the big reason why. And he said like Cam Thomas was probably decent, probably good. 16 points in the fourth quarter. The New York Knicks are trash. I remember that last year when he just went off when Cam Thomas did that. That was just too funny.
Yeah, that's Stephen A has some great clips, but even like with Cam Thomas is also just hilarious too. I don't know if you see did you see the thing where he was asked, I think it was a couple weeks ago, he was asked why he never smiles, and he just probably said, "Ain't nothing funny." So he just doesn't smile. Like he's just funny in general. Like that's just a hilarious thing just to say. It's like, why don't you ever smile? It's like nothing's funny. Like why would I smile? But yeah, it's cool to see him uh, break out now with Kyrie not there.
Mhm.
I don't know
Um,
of anyone that expected 3 straight 40-point games from him.
so it'll be interesting to see how they can handle the rest of the season, see if they can try and make some noise in um, the Eastern Conference. But yeah, just kinda probably just, still just kinda scouring through, just like with, um, college basketball or whatever, probably
Oh,
just not a
before we
whole.
go to college basketball, there
Mhm.
was a report earlier. I have to find it. The Lakers, Jazz, and Timberwolves are in discussions on a 3-team trade that would send D'Angelo Russell to the Lakers, Russell
Mm,
Westbrook, and draft compensations to Utah, and Mike Conley to Minnesota.
wow. What's your take on
And
that?
I just looked that up to try and find it. And D'Angelo Russell was ruled out of tonight's game for the Timberwolves due to personal
Mm,
reasons.
okay. I was gonna say, how do you kind of slice how that trade could go down between those three?
I I think I'm trying to remember what the all was going to the Jazz there,
Yeah.
but obviously they're not trying to contend.
No.
But to get, I think they were also getting like the rumors was another player was included or something uh, with the first round pick and Westbrook or something like that. But I think it's probably the right move for the Lakers because I think that Westbrook doesn't really fit that team well.
No.
I think uh, D'Angelo Russell probably fits it a little bit better. He's not as good as he was like a few years ago with the Nets, but he's probably a better fit and a better player at this point than Russell Westbrook is. And I know Russell's not exactly been like what the Timberwolves wanted. So maybe Conley can, if that trade does go through, Conley to Minnesota could be an improvement there. And then the Jazz are just like, hey, just give us a first round pick. It's like they're not, they're better than what people probably expected of them, but they're not like, they're not trying to win a title right now.
No. Yeah, I was surprised at how quickly Utah kind of fell after a really solid start to the season. I thought Utah was performing well above their expectations early, but I think I was just looking this up on like some of the other players like involved in the deal, just like probably just included just for rumors. I think they said the deal would include Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt.
That's who it was. Yeah, those were the two that I
Yes.
saw. I couldn't remember the names.
I was trying to see if there was any other like lower names. I think that was it. Yeah, I think those were the only two. So, hmm.
Yeah, which that makes it better than just getting the what's it called picks there, the pick
Hmm.
in Westbrook. So I think that's probably the because I think the deadline is coming up soon.
Hmm. I think it's sometime next week. I think it is. I can't remember which day, but
It's actually tomorrow.
oh, tomorrow. Oh, okay, the ninth. That's
Yeah,
right. Right. Yeah.
yeah. So that trade, if it does go through, will probably go through like soon. If it
Hmm.
it has to.
Hmm. I would imagine
So
that.
maybe it goes through tonight. I don't know why else they ruled D'Angelo Russell out for
I know.
tonight's game.
Certainly seeing. If it's just I don't know if the NBA kind of does the same as the MLB. I don't know if it's like a 4 p.m. trade deadline or I don't know kind of how they
I will
play
try
that
and
out.
find that out
What
because it is 3 p.m. Eastern is
3
when it.
p.m.
Yeah.
We'll see kind of what happens with um some of the other deals other than that going down, but certainly
Here's a
major.
rumor of your Knicks here. They have apparently expressed interest in getting Josh Hart from the Trailblazers.
Hmm,
That was a
don't,
report from a little earlier today around 2 o'clock.
hmm, don't know too much about him, but just certainly any depth behind, certainly there are guys in front of him. It's kind of a surpriser that Brunson and Randall, essentially, Randall kind of being an all-star reserve.
He pulls in 8 rebounds a game as a 6'5" guard. That is pretty impressive.
Yeah. Mhm.
Or sorry, he's listed as 6'4", I think. I just looked
It's
it up to
cool.
see. That is
Yeah.
that is impressive for someone that is not that tall.
Mm. Well, certainly any addition will be welcome. Certainly I'm just kind of hoping that Leon Rose and William Wesley kind of figure out what they're going to be doing over the second half of the season. I mean, getting 30 wins, I think, before NBA All-Star weekend is huge for them. I mean, they're 30 and 26 records, nothing to write home about, obviously, but, certainly it's hopefully going to be a step in the right direction, and certainly any addition could possibly help them during the second half. So,
Yeah, I don't really know of any other rumors or teams that are probably going. There's no one really available at this point.
mhm,
It's like huge that we haven't mentioned now. I don't because Josh Hart really wasn't even huge. That was just the only other
mhm,
like one that was mentioned earlier today. I think there was a little. when I was looking at it. There was some other Eric Gordon is someone that teams have been interested in. That's like a specific name that's been thrown out there. Other than that, there's really no one that's been thrown out. There's a report that the Sixers are targeting several big men. They list several names, but it's like that's not really as big as uh, Russell Westbrook, Mike Conley, and D'Angelo Russell three-team trade would be.
We'll certainly see how that deal goes down, over the next 24 hours. But probably just like I said, just kind of quickly going through some of the college basketball standings. What I was going to kind of just quickly do is probably just pull out probably like the top two teams as far as like each conference goes here. So for the ASUN conference right now, it seems like the top two teams right now are the Liberty Flames at 19 and 6 and the Kennesaw State Owls at 18 and 7. So those two teams would probably be my favorites to, watch for come March Madness. In the America East Conference, obviously you could probably not
They do
just
not play many games. I'm looking at this too.
yeah,
Ooh,
just I was just kind of seeing for America East, you have like the UMass Lowell Riverhawks. They are 20 and 6 right now, even though they're in second place in the American East. But the only other team that has like, I would say at least a decent record was the Bryant Bulldogs at 15
yeah. And
and
neither of them are in first place in their conference. That is Vermont, who is 13 and 10. It's just
always
they're
been
7 and 2 in conference play.
a pest in that conference
Yeah.
for so long. You always just have to beat for
Their
long.
out of conference schedule must have been rough because
Mhm,
that's a 6-8 record out of conference, but they're 7 and 2 in conference.
mhm. Kind of jump into the American Athletic, as I mentioned earlier. Of course, Houston just dominating that conference right now. I was a little shocked though earlier this season. I hope everything's kind of been okay, but it seemed like gosh, I can't remember who the head coach was at Memphis. Larry Brown, I think, was the coach at Memphis, and I think he stepped aside like for some health reasons. I think earlier this year, but certainly Memphis has done respectable once again. They're sitting at 17 and 6, and a couple other teams kind of in that same one. Cincinnati at 16 and 9, and Tulane at 16 and 7 to try and get like some at large bids or probably be on the bubble teams for um, once March Madness ends there. Um, Kind of looking at the Atlantic 10, you got two 18-win teams in there in VCU and Fordham in that Atlantic 10 for that conference.
Oh,
Certainly,
as just sorry to interrupt, but as we were talking about it earlier, that trade between the Lakers, Jazz, and Timberwolves is being finalized with D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt to the Lakers, which that is
that's
good
huge.
to add with them. Yeah, and then
Mhm,
the Jazz are getting a first round pick in Westbrook, and Minnesota gets Mike Conley and a second round pick,
mhm. It's nice to kind of get some
which
youth. It's nice to get some youth with the Lakers as well. Kind of getting Vanderbilt there, and certainly
yeah, I
trying
don't
to
know exactly what year the first round pick is for Utah, but I don't think they really care right now.
no, certainly just trying to rebuild from after
Yeah,
basically gutting that team last year come the trade deadline and certainly their offseason moves as well.
yeah. So I don't know what I would guess that I would guess that Westbrook might get bought out because I don't really see where he would really fit on that Utah team.
Mhm.
Like I don't think it really makes much sense for him to be there.
Mhm.
So maybe he gets bought out and he can pick where he wants to go.
Yeah,
All I know is he's definitely not going to Brooklyn
no,
because he is not exactly a great relationship with him and Kevin Durant.
no.
Yeah. But who
after the
knows?
whole.
Maybe they keep him. Maybe they don't even buy him. Maybe they keep him, try and sell some tickets or something. Because
Mhm.
that team, I mean, they're technically still in it. I think they're 10th right now in the West, but they're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Mhm.
Which the
Just
Lakers probably are going to make a push for that now.
absolutely.
Adding, probably upgrading at point guard, I would probably say, for what fits their team. And then adding the two pieces. What was it? Vanderbilt and
Beasley,
who
Malik
else did I
Beasley.
say? And Beasley, yeah.
Mhm. Kinda get some youth as well, just kinda behind some of their old veterans as well, and that's just kinda seemed to be, like, everybody's, like, biggest beef with them, just knowing, like, they got Carmelo, they had LeBron, they had AD last year, and just kinda seemed like age was really catching up to them, just trying to get some younger pieces, just behind them and trying to see what they can do with them in later years. But,
Yeah, they need that team is set up terribly for the future. So
mhm. Yeah, but then kinda just diverting back into, um, some of the leaders in, basketball, probably just outside some of the major ones. Of course, we briefly talked about, the ACC, obviously, you got your obvious ones, Virginia, of course, Miami being ranked as well, and NC State in that conference, and certainly the Big 12 is gonna have a number them as well. They got 6 teams right now ranked in the top 25 in the Big 12. Number 5, Texas. Number 11, Iowa State. Number 9, Kansas. Number 12, Kansas State. Number 14, Baylor. And 17th ranked TCU in the Big 12.
and you also got 5 teams ranked out of the Big East there too.
Yeah, you got Xavier, Marquette, Creighton, Providence, and UConn looking strong as well.
Yeah, and then Big Ten. I mean, there's 3 teams ranked there, but really, you only need to talk about Purdue there. Like it's
No.
Purdue. Like they're number one for a reason.
Nice to see UNC Asheville though doing well in the Big South right now. Looks like
Yeah,
them and Radford are kind of being the top two teams against each other. I'd like to see UNC Asheville back in the mix. Charleston Cougars no longer in that top 25, still that 22-3 record in the CAA's good, but that's kind of stacking up now. Hofstra and
yeah,
UNC Wilmington, another UNC school could probably slide in.
yeah. In the CUSA, Florida Atlantic is sitting at 22-2.
That's beating up opponents right now. 12-1 in the
Yeah, yeah.
conference.
Charlotte's really struggled since
Yeah.
we entered conference play.
Mhm. Yeah,
Because
4 and 8.
they were up there near the top, like record wise, and then into conference play, I believe it's 4-8 right now in conference play. It's not good.
Mhm. Maybe North Texas would probably be the only team behind that could possibly spoil Florida Atlantic's chances. Kinda got a few, um, interesting teams, we were kind of funny about this, but, Youngstown State, though, sitting at 19-6 in the Horizon League, leading, um, that conference. Kinda seeing for, probably just like the smaller ones are certainly like certainly the SEC, obviously, of course, Alabama and Tennessee being
Yeah,
in the top 10, those two would obviously get in as well. Kind of trying to
in the Pac-12, Arizona is ranked 4, and UCLA is ranked 7.
I was
Both very
impressed.
good. 21-3 for Arizona, and 19-4 for UCLA.
Looks like a different team could win the WCC. The St. Mary's Gale sitting at 21-4. Gonzaga's kind of hasn't been as high powered this year as they've been in previous years. They're 19-5 and they're number 16 in the country. But I noticed a couple of weeks ago when Loyola Marymount stunned them with kind of finally beating them for the first time, like the first unranked team to beat them at home in like I don't know, like 70 games it seemed like when they beat them.
Yeah, I'm just ready for March, so we can get these conference tournaments for that.
I know. Yeah, just kind of start finally making our picks for once the round of 68 confirms and seeing how that plays out there. But probably that will go ahead and just, probably wrap it up for um college basketball. Kind of a little bit of a slow broadcast so far tonight, but um I was just kind of seeing, if your mind had kind of um thought about any Super Bowl questions or anything, if you wanted to um test me or not, or if it's
I
okay.
was trying to think of some like somewhat
Yeah.
difficult ones to try and stump you, but anything I can really think of is pretty obvious to try and get. So I wanted to see if I could stump you, but I don't think I have any questions that could get that.
Kind of maybe just briefly trying to see maybe any news from Major League Baseball. I just saw this right now. It says like Bo Bichette and the Blue Jays reached a 3-year deal yesterday to avoid arbitration between them.
This
Hmm.
isn't exactly Major League Baseball, but it does involve baseball. Ronald Acuna Jr. will play in the World Baseball Classic for
Hmm.
Venezuela. The Braves are allowing him to play,
Cool. I was going to say
so
anybody
that
else
should be fun.
anybody else on the Braves going to be in or
I believe that Ronald is the only one,
oh, okay. Hmm.
unless I'm blanking on literally anyone else, which I don't know why I would be. I think he's the only one though. Because I'm trying to think, because I don't. There's no pitchers or not. No, there's no pitchers from the team there, and
Mhm.
then we don't have any like American players on Team USA for the Braves. So I think Ronald is the only one.
Hmm.
But it should be fun to watch the WBC because that Dominican team. Oh my goodness, that
Hmm.
that team is going to be so fun to watch. And even Team USA too, with Mike Trout finally playing, is going to be a lot of fun to watch too.
Mhm. Where is that being held again? Is that in Mexico or
There's I saw it the other day. So there's two locations in the US, and I believe there's two, and I think it's Southeast Asia. So there's
oh,
a
okay.
location in Miami and then one in Phoenix. And then I
Hmm.
believe there's one in Korea, and I cannot remember what the other uh I believe there's another Asian one, like an Asian location for it.
Okay, here we go. I think it says
And then I believe the final is in Miami. So once they get close enough, it'll just all be in Miami.
yeah, so it says Taichung, Taiwan, and Tokyo, Japan. I think
Okay,
it's
so it was yeah,
oh,
okay. I for some reason was thinking it was Korea, but I got yeah, so
yeah.
Taiwan and Japan, and then it's Phoenix and Miami are the ones in the US.
Hmm. You got Chinese Taipei, the Netherlands, Cuba, Italy, and Panama in Pool A. Pool B, you have Japan, Korea, Australia, China, and the Czech Republic.
That
Pool
Japan team should be fun to watch because I believe
one.
Christian Yelich is playing for that team.
Okay.
So that's
Yep.
that's going to be interesting. I believe this is the first year that they're allowing that Team Japan is allowing like non-Japanese players to play for the team because I believe Christian Yelich's grandfather is Japanese, so he's
Wow.
allowed to play for them. But I
Cool.
believe that they like he was eligible to play, but I think this is the first year they're allowing that to happen.
Yeah, just probably players from Japanese descent, like you were saying. That's
Yeah,
that's
well,
that's
I mean
cool.
their league is good enough to just construct an all-star team and compete.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say Pool C, you got of course the United States, Mexico, Colombia, Canada, and Great Britain, and then of course as you mentioned about Dominican Republic in Pool D, and they got Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Israel, and Nicaragua to match against.
I want to double check. I want to say that possibly I may have looked over it. The Braves may have another player because I think Freed is eligible to play for Team Israel. I don't know if he is though. I don't think he is. I would think I would have seen that if he was. I'm pretty sure he's eligible to play for him though. I don't know if they've had any. like big names there on their team because I believe Jock Peterson and Max Fried are both eligible to play for them, but I don't think either of them are.
Just trying to see who on the
Yeah,
Met.
looking at their roster, I don't see any big names there for it. I believe Ian Kinsler is their manager though.
It says um jeez, looks like the Mets got plucked really darn good. I was just looking on here on the New York Post. I think it says they have I think Alonso, McNeil, Ottavino, Lindor, Diaz, Eduardo Escobar, that Quintana they signed from their main guys, and then you got like some minor league guys like Brooks Raley, Michael Perez, Omar Narvaez, Cameron Opp, and Claudio Scotti. So they
Oh,
have
so
like,
I was looking at the I think the roster I was looking at was a little bit outdated. So
hmm,
Jock Peterson and Harrison Bader are playing for Team Israel.
hmm, okay,
So that's cool. I believe Freed was eligible. I just don't think he is playing. And then Ian Kinsler is actually their manager, which is kind of cool to see.
yeah,
Yeah, it's going to be cool to see, especially Group C with
hmm,
the US and like all the other like North and well, I think yeah, just North American teams and then the one European team. Or no, Italy's in there too. So there's two European teams and one of them is Great Britain. So
hmm,
the US can we played them in their game and we tied. Now we'll play them in our game in baseball. We played them in soccer and we tied them. We'll play them in baseball and we'll beat them, hopefully. But
yes,
yeah, looking at the pools though, Pool C with Team USA, obviously got to keep an eye out for that with just the talent that Team USA has. And then Pool D is going to be very fun to
hmm,
watch with the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. And then
yeah,
you got Venezuela too, which I don't know who's all playing for Venezuela, but they have some talent
they
that
do.
can play
Mhm.
that are eligible. Because
Yeah, I think
obviously Ronald Acuna is playing for them. I believe the Contreras brothers are from there. I don't know if either one of them are playing though. I want to find. I'm gonna try and find that roster, but I don't know who all is on it. But they have they. I know they had some pretty good players go play there in the Winter League.
I think they said, yeah, just probably just um, probably just for all the rosters. I think they said, I think it says tomorrow at 6. Their MLB Network will announce um all the rosters. I think.
Okay, so they're confirming the rosters in because I know they've had people pledge to play, so it's probably
Right.
not like confirmed or anything.
Yeah.
Which you'd think that they would maybe get the roster set a little bit before a month before it starts, but I mean, hey, it's just add to the excitement, I guess.
Mhm.
But that Pool D should be very fun with all the like star power and talent that they're going to have just from Puerto Rico, Venezuela, and the Dominican Republic alone.
Yeah, it's just kind
Because I don't know if you've seen any of the videos of Ronald Acuna hitting home runs in the Venezuelan Winter League,
of.
but he puts on a show when he does. I think the his last game he played, he had a home run in like the fourth inning, and it took
Mhm.
him like 40 seconds to round the bases, and he
Wow.
did like 8 different celebrations in the middle of it, and it was very entertaining to watch.
I will say this right now. I mean, I am psyched. Not so much for the WBC. I mean, I will probably try and watch it, but I am just psyched to see how the National League East is going to set up this year. I mean, obviously,
Oh yeah,
Atlanta
that's going to be fun.
going to be Atlanta's roster. I think from top to bottom, as well as the Mets too. But I just think as far as both of our rosters go, I know Philadelphia kind of captured the magic that they had in the season, but I just can't count on that team just being a thorn like
Yeah,
in either of our
yeah,
side.
especially with missing Bryce Harper for over
Right.
half the year, like they're gonna. And
Mhm.
then it's like they really weren't all that great in the regular season. It's just they had a miracle run in the playoffs. Obviously, adding Trey Turner is going to help that.
Yeah.
But like, is it really going to be enough to win? Because I don't think the Braves or the Mets got worse, and they both won 101 games last year.
Mm,
So I would guess that they'd both win at least 100 this year again. Did
mm,
the Phillies really improve enough, like their roster enough to go from, I believe they had like 88 wins or something like
yeah.
that, or 87 maybe even 86, to improve all the way up to 100 to challenge for the division title?
I
Like
just don't
they
think
had a
so.
great run in the playoffs
Yeah.
that was very fun to watch, and they only lost to the Astros because
Mhm,
the Astros were the best team in the league. They had
mhm,
probably the best like they're probably the best hitting team, and then they had the best starting rotation and the best bullpen. It's kind of hard to compete against that.
mhm.
But that miracle run through the National League for the Phillies, I
Mhm.
don't know if they could repeat it
No.
because they had their because like you could maybe try and compare that to what the Braves did when they won the World Series, but the Braves did it without their best player.
Right.
The Phillies had their entire team there to do that.
Right. Mhm.
But they did add Trey Turner, so maybe that does help. I don't know if it helps them get into the 100 win conversation though. I'd probably
Right.
go low to mid 90s. I
Yeah.
think they're easily a playoff team though. I
Mhm.
still think
Mhm.
the division title is going to be a race between the Braves and the Mets.
Mhm. I really don't think Philadelphia's pitching staff really scares me as much. I think Wheeler and
Yeah, they have that 1-2 though. That 1-2 is great.
yeah. Mhm.
And then
Right.
who did they sign? They signed one of the Mets pitchers,
Walker, Taiwan Walker.
Walker. Yeah, that's a good number 3
He's
there.
yeah, it is. Yeah,
It's a
but
good
just
yeah. Whenever like obviously you wouldn't want him as like your top end of the rotation, but if you can get him in the middle towards the end of it, that's good. And then I believe they have a prospect that really rose up.
yeah.
I think it's Andrew Painter is his name. So he
Yeah.
should debut this year. He really rose up last year. I think he's top 10 now. So if he can debut and do good, then maybe that pitching staff is really good. But even then, that's not even really the concern. The concern is more of their bullpen, which they have made moves to go like improve. But like, I don't know if adding Craig Kimbrell is really that much of an improvement. It depends on how they use him. If he's anywhere near the close of the game, the like to the close of the game, like if he's anywhere close to a closer, like eighth, ninth, maybe even seventh inning, I'd say it's like don't use him. Like
No.
because I don't know, like it's really weird because like he's not like terrible like stuff wise, like he has good pitches, but it's just he doesn't get results.
No, he certainly has not been the same pitcher since he
Yeah.
left Chicago.
If
I
you
like
could
a
if
lot of
you
him.
could put him in like the if he could consistently throw the sixth inning for you, I
Mhm.
think he'd be a really good reliever. I
I
don't
really
think you need to put him in a situation to where he could blow the game though.
yeah. Mhm.
And I wanna say they got another reliever, I think from the Red Sox. He was a free agent from the Red Sox. I cannot remember. I'm trying to pull up the roster to see if I can find it. Yeah, Matt Strom
Oh, okay.
is who
Hmm.
they signed Matt Strom or traded for him, however they got him. I know they ended up getting him. And then what I also blanked on that I forgot they did is they traded with the Tigers to get Gregory Soto,
Hmm.
who I don't know exactly how well that's going to go over because I think he's pretty much Jose Alvarado. Neither of them have like great command or like control really. They're not like they're kind of inconsistent hitting their spots, but they are two of the hardest throwing lefties in the league. So,
I just think it's so weird, kind of like as I was seeing last year, just how competitive um the AFC was in comparison to the NFC and football. It kind of seems like the reverse in the um
oh
the
yeah,
East,
and
the National League than the American League. Looks like the
yeah,
National League is
in
more
baseball,
powerful.
the American League, it's literally just the Astros.
I know. It's just
Like the Yankees aren't a bad team, but they fell apart towards the end.
it is.
Like there's no one that was even close to competing with the Astros. Maybe the Mariners can do it this year, with
Mm,
their young team improving, but I still don't see it. I still think they have the Astros are the best team in the league.
mhm.
But you look at the National League East alone, I
Right.
think that there's probably three teams that would be the second, third, and fourth best teams in the American League.
Right.
I actually would probably say three of the next four best teams because I don't think you can completely say especially with the improvements the Yankees had, you can't
Yeah.
just say the Yankees are worse than all three of them because
Mhm.
if they can not fall off a cliff and keep the team like consistent batting wise, and then they added Carlos Rodon to that rotation too,
Mhm.
they should get to 100 wins this year.
It will be interesting to
But I,
see.
other than the Astros and Yankees, I do think the top three of the NL East are better than everyone else in that league. So
I agree. Certainly it's going to be interesting. I'm really looking forward to spring training in a couple of weeks, and also kind of speaking about that same timeline. This will probably just be like the last thing we'll touch on before we kind of wrap this up. I'm also excited for Major League Soccer to come
oh
back as well
yes,
in about 3 weeks too. I'm just kind of I watched a couple of days ago. I think they had like a list of like the top five Charlotte FC goals of last year in 2022, and I think Swiderski, I think, had two of those goals that they ranked on the top five. But I just kind of wanted to probably just give this to you for probably either your last word or anything if you've heard anything recent, like in the Euro leagues or for Major League Soccer that our viewers probably would like to know.
yeah. So probably the biggest one, if we'll go to Europe in the Premier League, Manchester City was just they had over 100 infractions of breaking financial fair play rules from
Whoa!
2009 to 2018. So
Wow!
they could face some severe consequences.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I believe they won 5 Premier League titles during that time span, which I don't know if they'll like. I don't think they should retroactively go reward that to second place because I feel like
Mhm.
that's just. As the second place team, if I was there, I wouldn't even want that because like that's just. But going forward, who knows what could happen there? I think it was a couple days ago they announced that they had an investigation going on, but that was a major thing that happened there.
Mhm.
So and then with we'll come back to America for that for MLS. It is just over 2 weeks. February 25th
Mhm.
is the first games. I believe it's the first games, unless there's one sooner. I think they're all on that day. I know that's when Charlotte's first game is, but
Mhm.
and then Charlotte is revealing their new jersey next Wednesday.
Nice.
It is. I think it's the leak so far. It's going to be like the leaked colorway of it. It's purple and pink.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we'll see how that looks.
I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to, seeing how they kind of come out for their second season. Hopefully I'm going to try and maybe catch a game this year this time around. But
Yeah.
I think if that's going to go ahead and do it for us tonight here on episode 6 of our All Pro Sports podcast here. I think myself and Griff Barlow are going to have a short podcast on Friday before the Super Bowl on Sunday. But this is Alex
And is it
Chris.
is the honors on Saturday?
I think it's tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow
Oh, it's
night.
tomorrow?
I think it's tomorrow at 9. Yeah.
It used to be the day before, didn't it? Or did
I
they
think
change
so.
that?
Yeah, I think they changed it for this year. So probably get to see the
That's a
MVP and
little odd, but yeah, we'll
also the
see the
Pro Football Hall of Fame people as well who will be inducted in um 2023. So but
should be interesting to see that.
it will
And then
be.
of
But
course just the Super Bowl is what everyone's waiting for. So
This is Alex Chris and Billy McGee signing off here on episode 6 of our All Pro Sports podcast. And certainly we hope everybody enjoys the Super Bowl between Kansas City and Philadelphia. And we'll see you guys hopefully in the week or two following the game. Have a good night, everybody.